I think there's something there because it's, there's so many people that have complete graphic novels in time-lapse now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, anyone that drew it on Procreate, basically. Like,
yeah.
You've got your entire book in time-lapse. Welcome to Studio BeanCan's Cartoon Breakdown, a repository for all the amazing time-lapse footage being taken by today's greatest cartoonists. It's a new era for comics, and it's a new era for getting into the mind of cartoonists. So, here it is. Let's go. Let's do it. I'm here with Thien Pham, creator of Family Style. I was gonna record my cover with you, but my time lapse for that is like this weird choose your own adventure thing because I duplicated it a bunch of times and went in all these different directions to show the publisher. So it's not a continuous thing at all.
I don't even know this, but I was doing each panel on a different layer.
So each panel is a single layer, and then you would just duplicate and delete the lower layer when you did the next.
No, that would just make a new layer, and that would be the next panel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is your final file 1,000?
No. It's grouped in pages. So this is a page.
Yeah.
And then if you go in each page has each layer, each layer groups here is a panel.
That makes
and each
a ton
panel
of sense.
has. It doesn't really.
It does because you were going to Instagram first.
Yeah.
And I did a similar thing because especially if you have minor changes from panel to panel.
When I was drawing this comic, all the panels were about the size of what an Instagram post would be. And then when I made up into a book, they were like, oh, we want some panels that are longer, some panels that are shorter, some panels that are bigger. So this is me taking one of the panels and basically extending it and then recoloring it. So I'm just gonna show you my coloring method in Procreate. So here I took the old thing, I'm drawing, I'm extending all the lines out. Again, I have that wave going. And what I do normally is I will have a layer that is color and then one layer that is just black but set to 20%.
Okay, yeah.
Then I erase the highlights. So that's how I do my shading. I find that it saves a lot of time. I thought I was like the only one that was doing that. I was telling all these people, but everybody kind of does it. It's a pretty universal thing.
Some people use a dark color too.
Oh yeah. So for a long time I was using multiple layers, like a blue and then a black, and then erasing some of this and then releasing both of them so I can get like more depth. But the more I did it, I figured I just did one layer of shading and also a layer of highlights. Now I also have a layer that is a texture. It's just a paper texture, and that layer is like yellowy.
Okay.
Right?
Is that like something you scanned or just found somewhere?
I found it online a long time ago, and I kept it using it for almost everything in my career.
Yeah.
So I like the slight yellowness of the paper because it really unifies all the colors. So I can throw in whatever color, and because of that yellow texture, it gives everything a warm glow.
Yeah, it's impressive to me that you're doing so many redrawings, but you also seem to be pretty fast as a creator. Like a page a day with a day job is pretty wild. The only person I know that does like more than that regularly does 3-panel pages.
Yeah.
Right?
I think what people don't account for is erasing.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, erasing takes way longer than almost starting over. You know what I mean? And I think that's why I love Procreate so much, because it's so easy to just create a new layer, lower the opacity for the layer. So you're just constantly putting a tracing paper on top and drawing the thing that you just drew. And so like sometimes if I have one panel, I'll draw that panel like 10 times and it would still be less time than me erasing and then fixing something and then erasing and fixing something.
When I show you mine, you're gonna be like, ugh, because I do that. That's my problem with Procreate. I can erase infinity.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll have like a page that took me 16 hours that should have taken me 4. So now I ink in physical because then I do the rough and I print it and then I lightbox in real life.
So I think that saves me a lot of time, but also it was a little crazy because when I create comics, there are times where you're like, you are so inspired that you're just like, oh, I'm going for it, and then everything just goes so fast, right? But it's almost like a manic state. I don't know if it is, but I'm going like so hard at it, you can't sustain it.
Yeah.
You know, I sustained it for a while, but at some point I was like, okay, this is too much. And then the pace got a little slower,
Okay,
you know.
yeah, which is reasonable.
And then a lot of those pages that I did like in one day, I definitely had to go back in and fix, you know, because I was like, oh, okay, I just threw this up a little bit too fast.
But that city scene was just really nice perspective, clean drawing, and your use of color is really strong. It's like both super saturated but kind of muted tones.
I have a palette that I use of like 30 colors, and I only stick to those colors.
Did you do that from the beginning? Or is that, you're an art teacher, right? Are those choices that are connected to formal training, or is that something you just kind of intuited? Or?
Well, I only did that because I didn't want to waste a lot of time searching for colors. Because there's just so many colors. So I basically filled up a swatch window of Procreate, and whatever is in that swatch window is basically what I have. I never erase, I just make new layers.
Yeah.
You know, and here I'm like adjusting some of the lines, and then I'm sketching. I go from really rough pencils to finished inks, and the only way I can do that is because I take like maybe 2 or 3 passes at each kind of ink layer before it sets. Oh, what happened?
It's all right. This is all going to be edited together.
Oh, they're closing the gate.
Closing the gate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're at 836. We should mention that too. I'm Dan. Nice to meet you.
But I think the cover would be fun too. After I look at this one, the only problem is I think this time lapse might go too fast. You know what I mean?
Well, you don't get the details of your hand really.
Yeah.
But what you do get is a little bit of seeing the rough and see how people think.
Here, this is me redrawing. Basically, I get the symmetry lines. I reverse the front for the back for the lines so that they would be smooth. And here I'm sketching in the back cover, right? And so this is about what my rough looks like, or my pencils look like. And now I'm going in it, and you can see that the gray lines right there, that's how like rough my pencils are. You can see that there's no faces really. It's just as soon as I get the body positioning and the scales all pretty correct, then I'm ready to draw. And I guess here I'm doing another layer that's a little bit more detailed. Okay, so for this, I guess I'm doing another layer that's a little bit more detailed.
Cover. It makes sense that
yeah.
It's a little more. I don't know if you felt this, but there's kind of pressure when you're doing the cover.
Yeah, totally. You really want to impress when you do the cover. So now I'm putting in all the pencils, and as soon as I finish this, I'm going to lower that opacity again, and then draw on top again. And so now this is going to be the back of the cover. So I don't really know how much of this is actually going to be shown, because they'll have like a big box for description. They'll have like
barcode.
The barcode. They'll have a bunch of different things. So I really, at this point, this back one, I have to resign myself knowing that if any of this gets covered up, I have to live with it. However, when I was drawing, I was like, oh man, some of these are really good. You know, like you can't separate from it. They're like, oh my God, I really like this. I really love this portion of the back cover. And so when it did get covered up, I was like, this is kind of a bummer. You know, like I was like, it is a little bit of a bummer.
Is that why you silk screened the...
Yeah. I wanted to print this as a big silk screen as well, like because I was like, I love this this cover, like the entire thing, but no one really sees the entire thing, because when they place the text, the font, the boxes, a lot of this stuff is going to get covered up. So here I am, I'm just going in here, I'm drawing each scene. This is Mark and Lark, and each one of these scenes also represents a scene in the comic. So that was a little bit hard, is coming up with things that I wanted to portray. And I thought this one right here, I thought was a cute idea, because I have this photograph where I hold up like basically my name when I was in the refugee camp. I thought it would be really interesting to do that, but hold up a placard where the barcode would go. I sent that to the publisher, and they sent me back the actual layout.
Yeah, the bleed.
Yeah, the bleed and all that. So I was like, oh crap.
They didn't know they were gonna do the flaps.
So so then I was like, oh crap, I gotta do the flaps. I totally forgot it. So I had to extend it and then redraw a bunch. So there's a few panels here I'm gonna completely redraw because of the flap, and also because I wanted to move a few things. There's one that I wanted to move a few things because I wanted like I wanted Lark to be in the cover, so I like completely redid the composition so that Lark could be on one side so that she wouldn't be covered up, but they covered her up anyways. So again, when I'm doing these flaps, I have no idea what is going to get covered up, but I definitely wanted the art to extend all the way through and didn't want it to look like it was cut off or anything like that. So I went back in and I basically readjusted a lot. You can see that the back here is almost completely redone. This whole scene right here is redone from the one I did before.
And did they request the pho ball like separated out, or you just
I had already drawn the pho ball when I thought the cover was going to be just like a color. So I had already drawn the pho ball and I wanted to use it. It was a really good pho ball. So the pho ball, I just like I knew how big it was gonna be. I knew where it was gonna be. So that was the only thing I could measure against. So I left the center of the front cover. You can tell I left it a little bit empty because I knew that that's where the pho ball was gonna go. So right now I'm just doing the French flaps here. I'm basically extending a lot of these scenes. I'm adding a new scene here with my uncle. I extended the classroom. I extended this scene here with the kids playing with trees. I extended the strawberry things out a little bit. I added a few new scenes, and this is going to be a whole new one of me eating with my my uncle. So now you can tell that this is their layout, and now I'm just trying to figure out what it looks like. And then so this right here is the final like drawing. And when I did it, I was like, okay, good. All the little parts that they told me was gonna get covered up should be okay. It's not. But then it came back and they had like redesigned like a lot of those parts, so a lot of the stuff got covered up anyways. So yeah, I mean, I think that's my process, and everybody on here is gonna probably be doing something on Procreate because of the time lapse, you know. But without this program in particular, I don't think I could have done this comic in this amount of time with the style that I chose. I really can't sing the praises of this program enough. I mean, they're constantly making it a little bit better. There's of course little gripes, like I'm constantly like, I wish I could do this, or I wish I could do this better, or the typing tool is better, or
but it gets better a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Over the course of probably you doing your book, but me doing my book, like a lot of the things I wanted started happening.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure if I'm gonna use it forever because there are some things, but yeah, it's pretty impressive thing. But also, there's a lot of digital artists that get lumped in together, like visually, and I think your style does not. While like knowing that you did it on Procreate is not necessarily surprising to me, but you don't look at it and think digital artists necessarily. It's got a really organic feel, and part of that I think is like your choices of keeping that layering system and your own aesthetic, and also your choice to never erase. And it wasn't like you were using whatever the arc tools or whatever.
Well, I think you're right. Like the problem with Procreate when I first started using it was everything would take forever because if you can make it perfect, you're in theory, to make it perfect. It'd take a day and a half, 2 days to like draw one panel. I think I learned early on that you gotta let that go, and that there's sometimes like messiness is an aesthetic.
Do you think that the daily like Instagram deadline helped you with that?
Yeah, I mean that definitely helped, but then also I'm just not a very clean artist. I can imagine if somebody like an Adam Hughes or Dan Klaus or Agent Tobin, if they like took digital, it might drive them nuts because they're already so perfect with their ink lines that if they were able to fix it infinity, I don't know if it does.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Well, thank you so much.
Hey,
thanks for this is so fun.
Yeah. Can I show you one of my?
You do yours. Yeah.
I'm gonna stop and start again.
Hey guys, don't forget to check out Family Style at your local comic shop and wherever fine books are sold. It's an incredibly moving true story of Thien Pham's flight from Vietnam to America with a positive trajectory and all centered around food. If you have a heart, you will cry. If you have a stomach, you will be hungry. I cried on the subway. So yeah, please do check it out, Family Style. And these videos were brought to you by the stories I make and my wonderful Patreon. So if you are a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/freemoney, thank you so much. I just put up the entire A Film About Billy, my first hybrid novel alternating between comics and prose, for free for all of the paid supporters on there. I also have Goodbye Cloudtown High, the exclusive origin story for my critically acclaimed graphic novel, Cloudtown. Kirkus Reviews called it weirdly and unexpectedly wonderful. Jim Rugg of Cartoonist Kayfabe fame called it a beast, kaiju skateboarding manga, why so many ideas and great cartooning. Thank you to both Kirkus Reviews and Jim Rugg. But I have that comic for free on my email list and even the free sign-up version of Patreon. That is correct. Now you can sign up to my Patreon and get alerts, get all of my free videos and comics just before the general public does. And don't forget to check out Cloudtown.